Hi children, once again I am happy to come to your presence through this video to discuss the same lesson what we discussed in two parts, nationalism in Europe. So in the previous part we have discussed how in the year 1815 Napoleon rule came to an end. He was defeated, he was killed, and later on the people who are responsible behind the defeat of Napoleon, they met at one place, that is Vienna, which was referred as Congress of Vienna. And through this Congress of Vienna, all those monarchs who lost the territories under Napoleon, they got back their territories and they started imposing lot of measures. And from 1815, Europe experienced conservatism. After the death of Napoleon, the new variety of rule which has emerged in Europe was conservatives. And these conservatives who introduced these autocratic rules or autocratic measures made the people to lose their complete freedom. In the previous video we have come across how the educated middle class people, they tried their best to fight and to demand for the rights for the sake of the people in constitutional lines. They tried their best to fight for the rights from conservatives, but conservatives suppressed every time, every moment. This made these liberal middle class people, they were fed up of such type of movements. They were fed up to fight and demand for their rights in a constitutional methods. Now they started forming revolutionary groups or secret groups. So many such revolutionary groups started in Europe. That's why the period between 1830 to 1848 is a period of revolutions in Europe. Before 1815, the method the liberal middle class people who led the movements were entirely different. But after 1815, because of these conservative measures, the methods which were followed by the people in Europe to fight for their rights, to fight for liberty, express the nationalist ideas, it is through revolutions. So there are many revolutionary groups which were started. Secretly they started. One such example we are going to study is about the Giuseppe Mazzini, an Italian revolutionary. Giuseppe Mazzini was born in Geneva in 1807. Later on, after coming to certain young age, he joined one of the secret society of Carbonari. At young age itself, he joined the secret society, one of the revolutionary society at Carbonari. It is not of Giuseppe Mazzini's. Then later on, at the age of 24, he was thrown out. He was exiled from that place because of attempting a revolution in Ligurio. The name of that place is Ligurio. Yes, Ligurio. He attempted revolution at the age of 24 and he was thrown out. But did not stop there. After he was exiled, he started his own secret societies. Which were the two secret societies? Young Italy in Marseilles and Young Europe in Berne. So at the age of 24, when he attempted a revolution in Liguria, he was thrown out, and after throwing out, he started his own secret societies. One is called Young Italy and Young Europe. Now, many people from different parts of Europe, from Germany, Poland, Italy, Switzerland, young people started joining the revolutionary groups which were started by Giuseppe Mazzini. They were very much inspired by the thoughts of Giuseppe Mazzini. Like-minded people or like young-minded people who were very much in thirst of throwing out the conservatives. That is why many people joined Giuseppe Mazzini's Young Italy and Young Europe. And the main aim of Giuseppe Mazzini is to unite Italy. He fought much to unify what? Italy. Italy, which was, in later videos we will study in detail about how Italy got unified. Italy, which was divided into different states ruled by different conservatives. But Giuseppe Mazzini wanted the whole Italy to get unified. Later on, following his model, many secret societies came into being in Europe. Duke Metternich, he was a Duke of Austria, as we have studied in the previous video. The Duke Metternich describes Giuseppe as what you know, the most dangerous enemy of social order. So in this how revolutionary group started. This is one example. Gossipy Mazni is one of the revolutionaries like that. In the coming videos or in the coming pages, we come across lot of revolutionary groups. So this is one example of revolutionaries. And as we come across, what is this July Revolution in France 1830? Just now I have said that after 1815, the first revolution in Europe once again started by the people in France. 1830. Congress of Vienna. In Congress of Vienna, Bourbon dynasties got all the territories of French. That means French has come under the rule of Bourbon kings or Bourbon monarchs or Bourbon conservatives. But 1830 revolution made Bourbons flee from France. The liberal revolutionaries in France overthrew Bourbon dynasties. Then after throwing out Bourbon dynasties, the liberal nationalists in France installed constitutional monarch under Louis Philippe. See, there is a difference between monarch and constitutional monarch. Constitutional monarch, that means people get elected, constitution will be there, and the monarch have to follow what? Constitution. That is what called as constitutional monarch. So after throwing out the Bourbon dynasties, the revolutionaries installed the constitutional monarch and Louis Philippe. This news sparked throughout Europe. What has happened in 1830, it sparked the whole Europe. Later on, even the Brussels, that is Belgium, which was under Netherlands, they also got freedom from Netherlands. Belgium got freedom from Netherlands. Like that, we come across here Greeks also. So once again, the interesting part here, the Greek War of Independence. What is Greeks? Why it made the people to fight for their liberty. So all these events which were going on in Europe, the July Revolution 1830, that is France Revolution, then Netherlands or Belgium got freedom from Netherlands. Like that, the revolutions which were spreading throughout Europe, it even sparked the Greeks also. The educated elites in Greeks also started spreading the spirit of nationalism amongst Greeks. Why? Because Greek was under a Muslim empire, that is Ottoman Empire, since 15th century. Greeks were under Ottoman Empire, a Muslim empire from 15th century. So right from that period, they were trying their best to get victory or get freedom from Ottoman empires. Struggle for independence started by the Greeks from 1821. And from that time, as the nationalist ideas, the spirit of liberty and nationalism which was spreading in different parts of Europe, made Greeks also very actively to take part in the movement which were led by liberal nationalists in Greeks. Many Greeks who were thrown out from Greece by the Ottoman empires, they started their support towards Greek independence. There are two reasons behind how Greeks got independence. One is Greeks got support from whom? Who were being exiled, who were being thrown out from Greece. They started rendering their support. And the next group of people were Western European countries also started supporting the Greeks. And apart from that, many poets and artists, they played a very vital role in mobilizing the people to support for Greek war. One such example here I wrote here, English poet Lord Byron. The poet duty is to compose the poems, write the poems and spread the spirit of nationalism through poems. But this poet, not only writing the poems, he himself took part in the revolt. He collected the funds for the revolution. Later on, he himself joined the war. But finally, he died not because he was fighting, because he suffered from fever in 1824. All these developments and what's going on in Greek made finally the Greeks to get independence from Ottoman. How? Through a treaty which is called as the Treaty of Constantinople in the year 1832. So at last Greeks got independence. Greek became a separate nation. Ottoman Empire declared Greek as independent nation in the year 1832 through a treaty called as Treaty of Constantinople. So like this, in different regions of Europe, after 1815, revolutions have become so common. So this is how 1830 And up to 1848, one by one the revolution started spreading around Europe. So all these revolutions were led by the revolutionaries and also the educated middle class people. Apart from these, we come across in 1830s, these are years of economic hardships in Europe. After 1815, when conservative regime came into power, their autocratic rule also led lot of hardships, lot of sufferings, pains to the people in Europe, where the monarchs or conservatives were not ready to solve those. So these hardships did not make the people to sit at home, they revolted. So in 1830s, the common people also revolted against the monarchs or conservatives. How it is? So before, in what way the revolts were led, we'll discuss what were the economic hardships that the people in 1830s Europe experienced. So it says that 1830s were the years of economic hardships. So half of the 19th century, during the period of half of the 19th century, the cities and towns in Europe were overcrowded, population increased. Which is this population? From where does this population has come to cities and towns? People in rural areas, they started migrating to cities and towns in 1830s for the sake of to seek jobs. Vacancies were very less, but the seekers for jobs were much. So that means one of the hardship that the people in Europe were undergoing were unemployment. And people who migrated to cities and towns from rural areas, as there were no shelters, huge amount of slums came into being. With all these hardships, small producers from rural areas who were producing the clothes or textiles. Now during 18th century and 19th century, the small producers also started facing a stiff competition because the same textiles were being manufactured by the machine made goods, which were very cheaper than handmade goods. And apart from that, monarchs or conservatives started to collect huge amount of taxes from the peasants. With all these, food prices increased in such a way where poor people were not able to afford it. These were the economic hardships that the people in Europe were facing in 1830s. So as these hardships were continuously going on, they were expecting that these conservatives will help them to sort out these problems. But no, that's why in 1848 once again in France, so right from the beginning, whenever the revolts or revolutions used to start in Europe, the epicenter for such revolts and revolutions will be the France. First we studied in 1789 how the revolution was led, and after 1815 the first revolution was led by the French people itself, which was referred as July 1830 revolution itself we have studied here. And now, in 1848 also, the common people in France came out from their homes. What were the major two problems, economic problem that made the people in France to come out and fight for their right was the food shortage and unemployment. Demanding the monarch, that is, the Louis Philippe was the constitutional monarch in those days. But Louis Philippe was not able to solve this problem. That's why people in France in 1848, they came out in Paris and they launched the movement which made Louis Philippe to flee away. Then later on, people in France established National Assembly, and through National Assembly they started many national workshops, and where employment is being guaranteed to the people. So this is how in 1848 the common people led the revolt against the monarchs. Another incident in our book, it has been explained in 1845, weavers. So one of the place in Europe, that is Silesia. It is one of the village in Europe where nearly 18,000 inhabitants were residing in this village. Their main occupation in that village was weaving. The contractors used to come to this village, give or place order, give the raw materials to them, and afterwards through these raw materials, when weavers used to manufacture these, they used to get the payments for it. But seeing the condition in 1830s, what was that worst economic condition was unemployment. Taking this advantage, contractors started reducing the wages to the weavers. Many times the weavers requested these contractors launch the movement, demanded for high wages, but they rejected. That's why in the year 1945, 4th June, midday, that is in the afternoon 2 o'clock, that is 2 p.m., in pairs, they marched towards the houses of the contractors, the mansions of contractors, demanded for high wages, but contractors refused or rejected in paying the high wages. This made this 18,000 inhabitants of the village, the weavers, rushed into the houses of contractors, destroyed everything, whatever they saw in the houses. And another group of weavers, they rushed towards the storage houses where the clothes were being stored by these contractors. Seeing the anger of these weavers, the contractors with their family, they rushed or escaped to the neighboring village to seek the shelter. But after reaching to the neighboring village also, the contractors were not able to get the shelter because the villagers were not ready to give the shelter to these contractors. But one thing happened here, the contractors were able to come to their respective villages within 24 hours. In spite of this revolt led by these common people or weavers, but the contractors were able to return back to their houses within 24 hours. The reason was, they were supported or helped by the monarchs and their armies. So this is how in 1830s, from 1830s to 1848, one after the other, after this conservative order came into being, revolutions, revolts, spirit of nationalism, these have become so common ideas and people led the movements. And in the coming class or videos, we'll study still more some revolutions or movements which were led, how new nations came into being, who were responsible behind all this. We will discuss all this in the coming videos. So thank you for seeing this video. More than that, please, if you have any questions regarding these topics, please call me and subscribe this channel and also comment on this. So my number 97411985881. Thank you very much.